G'day friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. I got this in the mail today, something I ordered last week, so thank you Amazon for delivering that so quickly. I wasn't expecting this for ages. It's completely brand new. I actually thought it was secondhand, so I'm not quite sure. I'll have to go back and check if I did order the one I think I did. It was about $40 and it is a massive book put together all about poses, and it's called The Study of Pose. Now this isn't a drawing reference per se, like it's not, I don't think it was made to be a drawing reference. I watched a bit of a video where the model in it, Coco Rocha, who is like an absolutely incredible stunning supermodel from, I wouldn't even say back in the day, she's actually more my era growing up through my teenage years and my early adulthood. She was like the supermodel that I would look at. Graced a billion covers of magazines and kind of known for being the queen of posing because she's incredible to watch. So if you want to do any little research, go into YouTube and just type in Coco Rocha posing video or something, and there should be compilations there. Anyway, so I was watching one, ironically, just showing Steve some of these more fashion poses, and I didn't even realize that she had done this book. And when I saw it, I thought, oh, this would be incredible to use for drawing references. I didn't kind of look at any other references other than what she was showing on the screen, so I don't really know what it's full of, but it's just her in a leotard doing like a billion different poses. I mean literally 1,000, but I'm exaggerating. So I haven't been through all of this. I'm not going to bore you by walking through all 1,000 today, but I just want to pick these out and draw them. There's something, she was a dancer, so I feel like she knows her body really well, and a lot of the reference images I see online, they're great. They can be very standard, and then the ones that are very specific are specific for a certain reason. So someone's wanted to draw something and they needed a very specific reference. For me, I've always loved fashion, I've always loved models, so it makes kind of sense to me that my reference images would be of a model doing something. So this has been really exciting to come by. I mean, they're not typical fashion poses, all of them, it's just her being incredible at posing, but I'm kind of really excited to go through them and just pick them out at random and kind of draw. So I'm probably going to jump up into a voiceover so I can really take my time and just process a lot of the images as I look through them. But I wanted to at least hop on and tell you what I was doing, what I was planning. Looks like something I would draw already anyway. But yeah, I guess I'll talk to you about it in the voiceover afterwards. I just wanted to show you me kind of doing the unboxing and my first impressions, which are she's incredible and she knows what she's doing. What more could I say? It's literally 1,000 poses and she does them all so well. So let's get into it. Let's see what we can come up with. This is purely practice, purely for me to have fun illustrating, and I thought I'd share it with you because I think it's always good to share practice. Hopefully you'll see where I go wrong with some of them. Hopefully I get some of them right. And yeah, we'll have a good time. So I'll pop up into a voiceover, I'll chat you through the rest of the video, and thanks for watching. Okay, I'm just adding this random little clip into the video, just because when I was taking some photos with this, my whole spine detached. It's fine here, and then you think it's attached, but psych, it's not. The whole thing came apart. Now look, it's kind of to be expected. It's still really sticky in there, like it will kind of stick itself together, but there's so many signatures and it is super heavy. Like this is, I wouldn't even be surprised if this was like 20 pounds. Well, I mean, I don't know what pounds weigh, so don't listen to me. It's super heavy. The paper is really thin, but you can imagine 1,000 pages. I mean, it's beautiful, and it will still look fine on my bookshelf, and I will still use it, and let's be honest, I was probably going to get paint on it anyway. But just in case you're buying this, I am going to assume that this is just part and parcel if you're going to buy a book that has this much binding. I know it's probably not good to say that, but I mean, I didn't even touch this. Like, I did nothing to it except open it to those few pages and take some photos with it. So hopefully mine's just the faulty one, and maybe this would never happen to you if you're going to buy this book, but I thought I'd just mention it just in case. I'm not going to return it. I'm still going to use it, and in fact now I'll be less precious with it, so it's fine by me. Anyway, that's the little clip just to let you know I broke the book already. Bye! Alright, hello, welcome to the voiceover. So I'm going to give you a bit of backstory as to how I came across this book. I think I kind of mentioned it. I was helping. Well, I wasn't helping. Was I helping? I was telling Steve about the difference between kind of fashion posing and regular posing. And as far as Steve's actually been, if you don't know this, Steve is my husband and he's a photographer and he's an entertainer as well. But at this point, he's focusing on photography whilst all of his entertainment jobs are kind of shut down. So he's been using the past couple of months to really extend himself into this new world of kind of portraiture photography, which lends itself really well to editorial style fashion studio shoots. And so, as someone who loved to play top model when I was a kid, it's been really fun for me to kind of be there as he learns all of this stuff. And I've kind of helped him with whatever fashion knowledge I picked up over the years, which, I mean, it's not very current on my part. I really haven't been into fashion as much as I used to be for quite a long time now. I still use a lot of it in my work. I still really pull from a fashion illustration place or even fashion references for when I'm doing certain illustration things or even just having fun in my art journals. I think fashion really kind of shines through there a little bit. So it's one of my passions. And since Steve was kind of learning about that, I thought, well, lend my knowledge wherever I could lend a helping hand. And one of it was a lot of posing because I'm terrible at posing real people, but I have this extensive knowledge of how to pose models, and it's kind of useless knowledge for me since I'm not a model myself. But I used to play with my sister all the time. We used to play, we used to get dressed up and just have photo shoots, and we would have these themed photo shoots for Halloween or for Christmas, and I guess it would come in handy then. But being a dancer as well, I also understand how difficult it can be to pose people that aren't that familiar with their body into some of these like really crazy and contorted shapes. You can see on this book here, I mean, this is not easy, and I think I would struggle to even pull this off, but just having an awareness of your limbs and how they interact with each other and what your body looks like at certain angles is kind of what you're taught in dance. So I'm not going to go all out and say I'm a posing expert. I'm certainly not, but I do have some knowledge there. So I was sharing that knowledge, all of that to say, I was sharing that knowledge with Steve about how that's really important when he's taking fashion photography. A lot of the mood and the attitude can come from the pose itself, which is great because we were kind of brainstorming, how do you make something look really fashion when you're on a dime store budget? Like if you haven't really got a lot to work with, or, someone's just in a plain white backdrop in a studio or a plain black backdrop. And even in these, you can see in the reference here, Coco Rocha is just wearing I guess a nude leotard. I'm not quite sure because it's black and white. But something quite basic. How do you still pull it into this really, kind of crazy artistic place? And so the posing, I, was just kind of sharing with him how much it helped with that, and that maybe it would be a good thing to play with. Now, as with everything, as you're learning it can be really overwhelming to tackle so many new concepts at once. So we were doing it, and we were doing it with a bunch of friends who were really game, who wanted to kind of stretch their bodies into those poses, I guess you could say. And it was really, really fun. And then we thought, like, let's just take it further and further and further until we go too far. So we were kind of researching on YouTube, looking at different makeup looks for something quite 90s inspired. Actually, no, I think it might have been after that. In any case, I said, I remember Coco Rocha being probably one of the best posers in the world. We've got a few minutes, let's just watch this video. And as we were watching it, we came across this book that she had created. So that is how I ended up stumbling across this book and having never heard about it before, just because of this one compilation video that I happened to watch where it was referenced. But it's so fascinating to watch her work as a dancer because I know these things are really, like some of these poses are really difficult to get your body into and to hold it. She was a dancer herself, she probably still is. So yeah, it's just really interesting to look at it because she has such an incredible knowledge of her body and how it's angled and what parts are going to be captured by the camera, what parts are going to hit the light, appropriately. All of these things are kind of, I guess, model knowledge, or anyone who works in like this, image creation space. We think about it sometimes too as artists, as illustrators or painters. We think a lot about light and how it's hitting the body and the face and the form. So this all kind of works together, and I hope that this has been kind of interesting to see come to life. It's basically what I was doing is kind of mapping out the body with that red pencil. I wasn't really putting in any skeletons. I did for some of them. I kind of put the structure or the armature of the body, if you're familiar with some, what is it, puppet making terms. But I kind of would sketch relatively just kind of the whole body as I went in red, and I would put the leotard on in blue. I love my Mitsubishi red blue pencil. People ask why I sketch with it. I don't know. I have a good preference for it. Red seems to blend into skin tones kind of well if you do want to color them in afterwards. And the blue is just that point of difference. If you need to kind of clean something up or bring attention to something else, it's just kind of handy to have it in one pencil. And it's just become a bit of a novelty at this point. So I sketched in that, and then I went around it. I went around some of them with this black fountain pen that's just a zebra disposable one. It's not my favorite. I'm just using it because I want to use it up and let it go. And then I used this Tim Holtz detailer brush, an aqua brush that is filled with half water, well, not even like maybe 3/4 water, and just a drop of calligraphy ink, black sumi calligraphy ink. So it's kind of this grey wash that's waterproof once it's dry. Just to add in the shadows. And I would follow the shadows by looking at the shape that the shadows made on the body. And I think, honestly, if you're working with poses, do try to put the shadows in, because it really makes a whole lot of difference to your pose. It can be really hard to see something until the shadows are in there. It just looks very one-dimensional, but the shadows will really bring it to life. So if you are going to do a bit of a pose study or a bit of a body study, just pop those shadows in there. And it's actually quite fascinating to see some of the shapes that shadows take. And I learned one of the most interesting things about teeth. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of my the orthodontist told me that when you're looking at someone's smile, this is before I was going in for Invisalign, he was saying what you're really noticing if you're seeing crooked teeth is the difference in how the light hits your teeth. So you're seeing darker shadows in places. Sometimes the light only hits the front 4 teeth, or sometimes it'll hit more teeth. It's a lot wider of a smile. And so he was saying what we really want to do is angle the teeth. They don't have to be perfectly straight. You don't have to have like a horse bite, but they have to kind of catch the light in the way that's most flattering for how your teeth are, which was really interesting to me. And I guess, all these years later, it still makes sense. It has a lot to do with light, photography as well. So it's a great thing for Steve and I to kind of look at together, him focusing on the photography side and myself focusing on the art side. Obviously a lot easier for us artists to bend the light because we can bend it at will. If photography, I mean, you can, and especially in a studio, I think it's easier. But having been in there doing some of the shoots, I mean, I all but threw my back out the other day trying to angle a flashlight. We took another photo. It's some of the most beautiful light on one of the models, but if you could see how we set it up, there was a constant light on in the corner, and we had a big roll of black cardboard that I had kind of made a megaphone out of and funneled the light through so that it was a really small pinpoint of a hole at the end. It still let out too much light, believe it or not. So we got curtain and doubled it up, this sheer white curtain. I doubled it up and taped it over the edge so it diffused it out, and it was just the most beautiful light on the model's face. But yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting one too. If you just look at those shadows, can you see how harsh they are? In reality, she kind of loses half of her top, the torso. She loses all of that left arm. And on the side of the face, there's just almost a straight line of shadow that goes from her forehead down to her collarbone. Putting those shadows in, I mean, I don't want to say it, but it's a great way to cheat not having to draw all the extra detail. Yeah, just go for it. Kind of use that as your excuse to, if someone says, wow, it's really crazy, how did you do that? Just be like, oh, I just really focused on the shadows, but in reality, you just blocked out half the image. You can totally get away with it. I have shown this technique before on an Instagram live where I stamp out some figures and I just run down half the body with a shadow and do this really high contrast shadow look. So it's definitely something to play with, the light. I know it can be intimidating because a lot of the time people approach it with a lot of legality and a lot of rule. I tend to not worry about it. Just going loose is going to give you a nice effect. So if that's something you want to pick up and play with today, you could perhaps just pause the video on one of the poses you think you might want to tackle, or put it in a really slow-mo. There's a slow-mo setting on YouTube. You could slow-mo the video and try and copy it as I go. I know I've sped it up so it's a bit fast, but yeah, have a go at just looking at the shapes that the shadow's making and just adding that to, and maybe even just start with a face rather than a whole body. just looking at some really heavy shadows on a face, and see how that brings your work to life. Anyway, that has been today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly had a great time, and I can't wait to do some more of this in Virtual Voyage. I won't tell you exactly what we're doing, but it's very much this. Bye.